Because of the long trip, we were picked up early at 7:30 by the Barnes feeder coach. This took us to Cirencester to meet up with the holiday coach, which you will notice was just over 1 month old. Our cases were loaded and off we went. Our first comfort stop was at Strensham service station near Birmingham. The lunchtime stop was at Chesterfield. Barbara Hepworth curved reclining form. The pond or lake in Chesterfield Park. They must have a train go round because here's the rails. Most impressive to me was this giant diamond which had been created for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, and significant events were carved on the facets. I wonder what they had planned for the Platinum Jubilee. We then rejoined the coach for the journey to Shildon in County Durham. Here we stayed at the Redworth Hall Hotel. The entrance was very impressive and the trees quite majestic. The entrance to the Redworth Hall Hotel, where we stayed. Quite an impressive frontage. Tuesday saw us off to Alston for a ride on the South Tyne Railway to Slaggyford. It is not a steam train, but it's an electric train run on batteries, which were contained in these large boxes. After a ride through the countryside, we arrived at Slaggyford, where the engine had to be connected to the other end of the train, ready for the return journey. The station was very quiet and seemed to be in the middle of nowhere. We then returned to Alston, ready to get on the coach to go to High Force Waterfall, which is on the road to Barnard Castle. After parking the coach, we crossed quite a busy road to walk down to the waterfall, noting the fact that quite a few trees had been blown down in the wind and had been left to rot down. Luckily the path had been renewed and we soon had a good view of the waterfall, which made the effort worthwhile. Our last stop of the day was the town of Barnard Castle. It must have been quite big in its heyday, but is a bit of a ruin now. Wednesday we were off to Whitley Bay, which is on the east coast. I didn't know what to expect, but was pleasantly surprised by how clean the beach and promenade were. The impressive domed Spanish city dominated the esplanade, and this is where we had a refreshing cup of tea and then walked along the prom to blow away the cobwebs. On the way back to the hotel, we passed the Angel of the North and stopped so that we could take some photographs. Thursday we had a private tour of Raby Castle, which is still in private hands.
So come closer.
There was much to see, but what interested me the most was the coach, which was 200 years old and could be driven into the hall so that the passengers would not have to get out in the wet. The display of rifles which had been issued to the locals during the Napoleonic Wars, but luckily were never used. The statue of the naked woman was shown at the Great Exhibition in 1851.
Shown at the winning post at York Racecourse. You'll see some tents will have been made.
The Baron's Hall is the biggest in a private residence in England, and it took 2 shots to show how large it was.
This chapel dates from 1364 to 1367. There would have been an open fire on each of the 4 walls. To date, the walkway in that direction is the...
What joints of meat have been cooked in front of this fire on the spit, which may have been turned by a small boy. After our visit to the castle, we went to Teesdale Cheese, which was out in the countryside where a selection of soft cheeses are produced. We had to wear plastic aprons and hairnets, which caused quite some hilarity. We were shown how the cheese was made and some that were in storage to mature. We were then treated to a tasting of the 9 types of cheese which are made here. They also have 2 shepherd huts which are used for glamping so that people can enjoy the peaceful countryside.
What, are they available for rental?
Yeah, because there's not a lot of B&Bs around us here. You've got the barbecue over.
Walking back towards the house, one can appreciate the views. The goat can enjoy the grass picked for it by one of our party.
Never eat what you want them to eat, like nettles.
Before we returned to the hotel, we visited Bishop Auckland, which is the site of another castle and the famous football team.